I was about to leave for my son's engagement party when my doctor called and said, "Don't let him go tonight." Then he whispered, "Check the file I just sent you, but don't tell anyone." What I saw in that file about my own family shattered everything I believed. I never imagined one phone call could tear open the seams of a family that looked perfect on the outside. But that night, everything, every routine, every memory, every belief about my own son and the people closest to me began to unravel. It started like any typical Sunday evening. I had just poured myself a cup of coffee. The house smelled like wood polish, and the late afternoon sun poured through the blinds in golden stripes. I was straightening my tie and rehearsing a small speech. I planned to give at my son Evan's engagement dinner. Something heartfelt, something simple. "I'm proud of you, son. You're choosing love." That was supposed to be the whole vibe of that night. Warm, meaningful, new chapter for all of us. But fate is strange. It never warns you before it strikes. Just as I reached for my coat, my phone buzzed with a call from Dr. Harris, my physician of nearly 20 years. A man who'd seen me through broken bones, stress tests, and late-night panics after my wife fell sick years ago. He was steady, calm, rational, never dramatic, which is why the fear in his voice stopped me cold. "Mark," he whispered, "listen carefully. You cannot let your son go to that engagement dinner tonight." I blinked. "What? Why? What's going on?" "I'm sending you a file. Open it when you're alone. Please, just trust me." Before I could question him further, he hung up. No explanation, no reassurance, nothing. That wasn't like him. Not even remotely. I stood in the middle of my hallway, half-dressed, one arm in my coat, staring at the phone like it might explode. A minute later, a digital file came through.
Evan Harper, psychological evaluation, confidential.
I froze. Psychological evaluation? Evan hadn't told me he was being seen for anything. He'd always been a quiet kid, serious, thoughtful. A little anxious maybe, but nothing dangerous. Nothing that would trigger a late-night emergency call from a doctor. I opened the file. My heart pounded so hard it felt like the walls around me were shaking. The first few pages were standard checklists, numbers and charts, but the red warning notes were what pulled the oxygen straight out of my lungs. Patient presenting signs of unstable impulse control. Potential for severe stress-induced breaks. Emotional triggers may lead to dangerous behavioral outcomes. Then a handwritten note from a specialist. Do not expose patient to emotionally charged environments. High risk. What could be more emotionally charged than his own engagement dinner? I stumbled back a step, nearly dropping my phone. My son, dangerous, unstable? No, this had to be wrong. But the report kept going. There were mentions of medication. Evan was supposed to take daily, something I'd never seen in the house. Notes about therapy sessions he'd skipped for months. Descriptions of unpredictable behavior under emotional stress, including one terrifying line. Patient showed signs of dissociation and violent reaction when confronted with relationship-related pressure. My breath left my body. Relationship-related pressure. This engagement, tonight. My son had never told me any of this. None of it. I suddenly felt like I didn't even know my own child. Then the final pages shattered me. A second file had been attached, another psychological report. Not Evan's. It belonged to his fiancée, and the notes were horrifying. Reports of fear around partner. Claims emotional instability. Possible physical altercation, unconfirmed. Patient suspect's partner may react violently if engagement is questioned. My legs felt weak. I had to grab the edge of the wall to stay upright. This wasn't just about Evan's health. Someone knew something was wrong. Someone had tried to warn her. Someone had taken her to a doctor, quietly, secretly. The last note punched me in the stomach. Patient encouraged to delay engagement announcement. Fear's escalating reaction. She had been afraid. Afraid of my son. I didn't want to believe it. Not my kid. Not Evan. The same boy who used to cry if he accidentally stepped on an ant. The boy who hugged stray dogs. Who spent his teenage years reading philosophy instead of partying. No, this couldn't be right. This was a misunderstanding. A mistake. I grabbed my keys and rushed out the door, heart pounding. I drove like a madman through the quiet suburban streets, the engagement dinner invitation sliding across the dashboard with every sharp turn. Her parents lived in a big white house with warm lights glowing in every window. Cars lined the driveway. I could hear laughter from the porch as I walked up. From the outside, it looked like a perfect American celebration, warm, joyful, inviting, but I felt sick. The moment I walked inside, everyone greeted me with smiles, handshakes, promises of cake later, compliments on my coat. They had no idea, none. They were hosting a celebration, while my son might be standing on the edge of an emotional cliff. And then I saw him. Evan stood near the fireplace, a drink in hand, smiling politely as people congratulated him. But his smile wasn't real, not to me. I'd known him his whole life. His eyes were flat, cold, like someone performing happiness instead of feeling it. Then he noticed me. Something flickered across his face. Panic? Something flickered across his face. Panic? Anger? Fear? I wasn't sure. He walked over slowly. Too slowly. "Dad," he said softly, "you're early." I swallowed hard. "Can we talk outside?" He stiffened. "Why?" "Evan, just come outside with me, now." His fiancée glanced over nervously. He shot her a look I didn't like. A hard, sharp look, not the gentle one he used to give her. "Dad, what's going on?" He whispered through clenched teeth. "Please," I whispered. "Step outside." He followed me onto the porch, his shoulders tight, jaw clenched. The moment the door shut behind us, the mask dropped. "What did she tell you?" He snapped. My blood chilled. "Evan." "Did she?" He demanded. "Did she complain? Did she say something was wrong with me?" "No," I said softly. I saw the file. His face turned pale. "You, what?" "Evan," I said, voice shaking. "You need help, please. I'm not angry. I'm worried." "That file wasn't supposed to be for you," he whispered, eyes wild. "I deleted it." "How did you get it?" His hands were shaking now. Not with fear, with rage. "Evan, son, listen." "No," he shouted. I told them not to interfere. "I told them!" For a second, I swear he didn't look like my son. His breathing sped up. His pupils narrowed. He looked cornered. Behind us, the door opened. It was his fiancée. "Evan," she said softly, "your mom's asking for you." "Are you okay?" He turned toward her slowly, and something dark crossed his face. I stepped between them instinctively. "Don't," I whispered. "Don't what, Dad?" he said, voice trembling with anger. The girl stepped back, afraid. I'd never seen someone afraid of my son, but she was. "Evan," I said, "you need to come with me." "No," he whispered. "No, I'm not losing this. I'm not losing her. I'm not losing anything." He started toward her. I grabbed his arm. He jerked away violently. "Don't touch me!" People inside heard the yelling. Faces pressed against the glass. The music stopped. The laughter died. The girl's father rushed outside. "What's going on here?" Evan glared at him with something unrecognizable, something burning. "You want to take her away from me too?" he shouted. The father shielded his daughter behind him. "Evan, calm down." "No!" Evan screamed. "I won't let you." He lunged forward. I reacted without thinking. I wrapped my arms around him, pulling him back with everything I had. He thrashed and fought like someone possessed, screaming incoherently, rage pouring out of him like a storm finally breaking. It took 3 men to restrain him. 3. After what felt like forever, he collapsed to the ground, sobbing, shaking, whispering over and over. I just didn't want her to leave. I didn't want anyone to take her away. I didn't want to be alone. Paramedics arrived. They sedated him gently. He didn't fight anymore. He just stared at me while they lifted him onto the stretcher. "Dad," he whispered, voice breaking. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. I'm scared." I sat beside him until the ambulance doors closed. Later that night, Dr. Harris called again. His voice was quieter this time. "Exhausted. Mark," he said softly, "your son was hiding the severity of his condition. He was terrified of losing her." He spiraled. "This isn't your fault. He will get help now." I watched the ambulance disappear down the street. The engagement dinner never restarted. The lights turned off early. Guests quietly slipped away. The girl cried for hours in her mother's arms, and I sat alone on the porch, staring at the empty glass Evan had dropped earlier, thinking of the little boy who used to run into my arms after school, thinking of how close we came to losing everything. If Dr. Harris hadn't called me, if I hadn't seen the file, if I had arrived 10 minutes later, I don't know what would have happened. I don't want to know. All I know is this. Sometimes the people we love the most are fighting storms we know nothing about. Sometimes they hide their darkness because they're afraid of losing our light. And sometimes, a single phone call is the only thing standing between a family and disaster. Evan is getting help now. Real help. He's in treatment. He's improving. Slowly. Carefully, the engagement is on hold. Not canceled, just paused. His fiancée still visits him. Gently. Patiently. She still loves him. And me? I sit by his side every day, holding his hand while he learns to face the darkness inside him, because he's still my son. And this story, the terrifying, heartbreaking, unbelievable story of that night, is the reason I will never ignore a whisper from fate again.